Welcome to ArtX video series tips. In this segment we will be explaining a few different tricks of the trade with using Mastercam Art to create some interesting effects. First thing we'll do here is create our surface, and we'll do that with 2 points. Then we'll go to Organic, select the outer circle, and we're going to create a parabola here, and let's make that 1.75 by 1/4 inch high. And then let's make that a arc medium for the adjust ridge. Now we have a dome. If we look at that dynamically, next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a function called flatten. Let's take the surface off here, and I'm going to use this inner boundary here. So what I want to do is I want to flatten everything from the inner boundary outside. So I'm going to select flatten icon, and I want to pick this inner boundary of the Gothic M, and my choice in flatten will essentially do that. Will flatten, if I selected this piece of geometry, will flatten everything on the inside. We have a build shape to inside outside, which accompanies most art surface operations. We haven't dealt with it very often, if at all, but I'm going to change it. So this is showing you that everything that's inside your chain, everything outside of it will be flattened, everything inside will be kept. If I switch my icons here, everything on the inside will be flattened. So what we want to do is flatten everything to the outside of our chain. So we'll pick that, say go. So we see that everything got flattened to the outside. Now, if we go to dynamic rotation, we can still see that we have curvature over the top of our part here. Let's go back into isometric view. The next thing I want to do is smooth out this edge, and this can work with any type of texture or organic surface or any other surface operation where I just want to affect the edge of the part here. So I'm going to pick organic. I'm going to pick that same chain that I used before, so I could just actually use last here. Would pick it up, but it's that inside edge. In organic, I am going to select parabola, and I'm going to have it be 1/4 inch by 1/8 inch. And what this will do will just be affect the edge of the part. But the real trick here is to go to blend edge, not just blend, but blend edge. And we'll apply that, and we see that it curved it back in from the edge to the inside of the part. Next, we'll want to use that same blend edge in a different application. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to pick textures, and I'm going to pick create texture weave, and I'm going to pick that. I want to apply it between the circle and that inner chain. And so we'll lay that down. And if we come look at the edge here up close, we can see it's kind of a vertical edge. What I really want that edge to do is blend back in. So we're going to use blend edge again. So I'm going to pick organic, and I can just say the last chains we used, picking this icon. And then I'm going to pick from my application style, blend edge, and then I'm going to set up a convex parabola, 1/4 or 0.25 by 0.125. watch this edge here. So now we have a nice blend back. And if we fit the screen, we can see it does it in both places, on this edge and on this edge. So now we have a nice blending in there. The next thing, or function I want to show you, let's go to a top view here, is smooth. So we're going to come in here, and I'm going to take my shading off, and we'll do the isometric view here. We'll zoom in a little bit. Still want to use this inside border. I'm going to pick the smooth icon to smooth my surface. I'll pick that inside border, and then we'll take the default here. And what this is going to do is smooth the edges out. So we'll accept that, and we'll look at that. And now we've got a smoothed out the ridges there. So let's go and just down here to parameters, and we'll make that bigger just to show you a more of a drastic effect, and we'll zoom in before we apply that. And now we can see that there's more smoothing going on. Now, we can also see that it didn't smooth past the edge, which makes sense because the boundary that we selected is that edge. But a lot of times we want that edge to roll down into the other surface. So the way we can select that, I'll turn off my surface here, is we picked this edge so it was right on the edge of the surface. So I created a boundary to the outside by using this icon up here, Xform Contour. I picked this one and told it to offset 0.0625. So if I want, if I put my surface back on here, if I want this edge here to really blend into the floor or to this other surface with smoothing, I'll come back into my parameters here, select geometry, and I'll select this outside edge. And we'll generate that. Watch this edge here. And now we can see that our smoothing comes down off the edge and actually into our pattern. Look at this again. Let's go to the top view. And we can see a nice smooth blend, a definition of the letter M. And then you could actually go in and add the inner detail if you wanted to. But to reiterate what we just did, we created a dome, and then we flattened everything outside of the M, which gave us vertical walls. Then we did a blend function with organic, blend edge function, excuse me, with organic, which rolled these edges back. Then we created a texture between the circle and the letter M boundary, which then again had flat vertical walls on the edges. We created an organic surface with blend edge and used the same boundaries and blended those edges in. Next, we did a smoothing on the letter M of 0.03. We increased the smoothing to 0.0625, which rounded the corners even more. And then we went in to parameters and picked geometry and picked a boundary that was outside of the actual M edge to smooth a nice radius from the intersection into the pattern. This concludes ArtX Video Art Tips.